Hello, this is Wayne Roseberry from Software Testing. So the video that I'm creating today is different than what I'd planned. I had planned to show comparing multiple ways of generating test cases from a model and actually testing those, comparing the coverage between them. Um, I, I created a all nodes version of test cases from a model, a all edges derived set of test cases from a model, and all pairs derived, which each gets progressively built bigger. Um, and that was from a model I built in Test Compass. It was in a prior video that I created that model. The thing that happened though is while I was doing the testing, I found a really bad bug that came out of the way I was testing. It was covering up the bug, and when I changed the way I was doing my testing, the bug popped out, and the difference is fascinating. So I changed my video up to cover that. So this is a little bit of running cases derived from a model, but also a reflection on things that can affect your testing that you might not expect. So the first video is going to me following straight up from the model. The second video is the change in how I did my testing, and we can compare the two. All right, thank you.
Right. So let's take a comparison, right, and see what we would get. So if we were doing node coverage, cover every node. This one's almost surprising, but Test Compass, and I haven't worked out to see if I believe it or not. Test Compass has a strategy to hit every single box in this model using only two cases. Right now they're long sequences, right? But it's like, yeah, I can do this in two, which which is interesting. If you believe that that's all you need is to hit those boxes, then each of those boxes, then that's a really crazy reduction that might work well for you, right? We go from ungodly thousands numbers of cases to just two.
What you just saw was the first execution of the test case steps as recorded, as captured from the model doing the all node um, exploration method. So now I'm going to show you really the same sequence of steps, but the change that I'm going to make is instead of switching back and forth between the spreadsheet to see what the next step is and then executing that step inside the app, I memorize the steps and stay in the app the whole time. Okay, which I it's not like I had some brilliant idea, let's do that. It's that I had seen a problem, a crash in Test Case Studio just through prior ad hoc exploration, and it seemed like that crash should have been replicated by the steps I was executing. So I had just tried, well, let's just try that again. Um, but I wasn't following the steps in the spreadsheet. So I said, well, let's try the exact steps in the spreadsheet, but not switch back and forth. And you'll see what happens when I do that. Also, this video gets cut short at the end, so I'll be back at the end to talk through a little bit and about why the video got cut short.
All right, let's take a look at a sequence that has a bug in it, but it didn't show up while I was using the script. Okay, I'm going to show you the sequence. So I'm going to start Test Case Studio again, and I've memorized the very first sequence because switching back and forth to look at it was causing a problem. Okay, so the sequence was from DataMaker to we load the page and then we don't change the schema namespace. We change the schema to something different. We change the number of examples, hit edit. That takes us to the next page. And then let's just leave everything non-changed, right? We're just going to go back. Okay. And then let's change the schema.
Right there, just after I said let's change, the video gets truncated. It's cut short. And the reason it's truncated is because the video recorder I'm using is a browser extension. It's running in the browser. So is Test Case Studio. It's a browser extension. The moment I changed the schema in the schema drop-down dialog, Test Case Studio crashed, which took down the entire browser, which also took down the video recorder, which was actually a little surprising to me. I had to switch video recorders just to get, because the first one I was using, the session wouldn't even get captured. This one actually managed to capture the session. So that was the difference. The difference in whether or not I captured the crash was alt tabbing between the app to do the step and Excel where the steps were recorded. And I haven't worked out why, I don't know, timing thing or things like that. But what I really suspect is because Test Case Studio is recording your actions inside the browser, I think that switching focus in and out of the browser is sufficient to change whatever it is that is causing it to crash when I go back in and choose the item in the schema box. I strongly suspect it is the back button, the combination of how the edit button just changes the href value of the current browser view, and the back button going back, I think, is going into a state that Test Case Studio is not managing well. And so when I choose one of the options inside of one of the select boxes, it crashes. So that was a fun bug to catch. It also, it's an important lesson to learn that things can affect what bugs manifest, and what it can affect steps. You would normally expect that switching out of an app to look at instructions and then going back into the app to execute the next step wouldn't affect the outcome of the test. But in this case, it really did. Had a dramatic difference for us. So that's a very careful thing to watch out for. And another careful thing to watch out for is if you watch this in the video, and I've got notation on this in the text notes, but the model that we were looking at hit every node but not every decision point, and not once during the sequences that were in the the test cases that were in the spreadsheet did we ever change the namespace dropdown, and that actually has behavior in the app that we're talking about. So you have to be careful with your case generation methods that you use. You should always scrutinize the resulting cases from any kind of test generation or even an analysis to say, are we actually covering everything wanted, or did we miss something? Another thing that came up during this, for a while when I was first doing the case, I was very much focused on, am I getting the next step? Am I getting the next step? And I kind of got blind to what was going on around me because I was so focused on what's the step, what's the step, what's the step, and caught myself on it when I went back to comparing the output in Test Case Studio against the steps I was trying to record, and I realized, I was narrowing because of a very scripted approach to how I was doing the test cases. That's something that comes up a lot in critique of formal scripted test approaches, is that it does have a narrowing of the imagination that you need to figure out how to pull back a bit and say, I need to look at a larger picture. So that's another thing that's interesting to talk about and think about when looking at the testing analysis there. Anyway, I just thought it was fun to notice the difference between that came up just alt tabbing between apps. That's not something that comes up very often. But given the nature of the thing we were testing, a browser recorder, it's actually a higher risk than it normally is. Normally, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't affect the state of the app at all. So that was an interesting thing to take a look at. And I don't know, I had fun with this. Thank you.